At 35, my life seemed perfect. My name is Matt, and I was a marketing manager at a major tech company. Andrea, my wife, worked as an HR partner at a consulting firm. We were the kind of couple others envied. From the outside, it seemed like we had it all: a strong marriage, successful careers, and a beautiful son, Logan. Andrea and I met at Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management while working on our MBAs. Our connection felt like fate, a partnership built on shared ambition and a deep admiration for one another. I first noticed her on orientation day. She walked into the auditorium with an effortless confidence, her green eyes piercing and her dark hair cascading down her shoulders. Andrea wasn't just beautiful, she was brilliant. She mastered complex ideas in class with ease, her insights sharp and thoughtful. Her drive and ambition were magnetic, inspiring everyone around her, especially me. Beneath her professional intensity, there was a playful, charming side. We balanced each other perfectly, her fiery determination paired with my laid-back attitude. Our relationship blossomed during long study sessions and late-night talks. By graduation, I knew Andrea was the one. Our bond only grew stronger as we began our lives together, navigating the demands of work and the dreams we had for the future. When I proposed, I felt sure. Andrea wasn't just my partner, she was my soulmate. Our wedding was a celebration of our love, surrounded by friends and family. I remember watching her walk down the aisle, looking radiant in her white gown, and feeling like the luckiest man alive. Together, we dreamed of building a family, a life full of adventure and love. For years, those dreams felt real. We settled into suburban life when Andrea became pregnant, and everything changed when Logan was born. Holding my son for the first time was unlike anything I had ever experienced. Being a father was both challenging and rewarding, but Andrea and I embraced the shift in our priorities. Our family became our world. From the outside, we were the picture of happiness. But what seemed like perfection was hiding cracks that would eventually shatter everything we had built. It happened on an ordinary weekday. I was getting ready for work while Andrea fed Logan breakfast. She looked frazzled, juggling the baby and packing up his things. I kissed her lightly before leaving, thinking nothing of her flustered mood. But that evening, when I came home, I found her curled up on the couch, her eyes swollen from crying. My heart sank. Andrea wasn't one to cry easily. I sat beside her, concerned. "What's wrong?" I asked. Her hesitation made my stomach twist. Finally, she took a shaky breath and said, "Matt, I made a mistake." Then, she told me. One evening after work, she had gone out for drinks with a colleague, Ryan, and things escalated. She'd cheated on me. The words hit me like a truck. My hands trembled as I tried to process what she was saying. I asked her why, barely able to speak. Her answer only made the pain worse. Andrea said she felt overwhelmed since Logan was born. She didn't feel like herself anymore, just a mom, not a woman. Ryan had shown her attention at a moment when she felt invisible, and she let her guard down. She insisted it was a one-time mistake, that it meant nothing, but her betrayal felt enormous. I couldn't stay. I packed a bag and drove to my brother Jason's place, needing space to think. The weight of it all crushed me, our years together, the family we'd built, the life we had planned. How could she risk it all? Jason tried to calm me, reminding me that everyone makes mistakes. "Don't throw away everything over one bad decision," he said. But his words felt hollow. For days, I avoided Andrea's calls and texts. I was angry, but beneath that anger was a deep sadness. I couldn't stop picturing her with Ryan, couldn't stop replaying her confession in my head. And yet, the thought of losing my family haunted me. When I finally returned home, Andrea was waiting, tears in her eyes. She begged for forgiveness, vowing to do whatever it took to rebuild my trust. She suggested counseling, full transparency, anything to fix what she had broken. I told her I was willing to try, but I warned her I didn't know if I could ever see her the same way again. We started marriage counseling and set new boundaries. Andrea cut all contact with Ryan and gave me access to her devices. She was desperate to prove her commitment, and I tried to meet her halfway. But the road to healing was harder than I imagined. Every time she worked late or got a text I couldn't see, my mind spiraled. Even simple moments, like watching her play with Logan, were tainted by doubt. I wanted to forgive her, for Logan's sake as much as mine, but the betrayal lingered. A year passed, and we settled into a fragile rhythm. There were moments of connection, glimmers of the love we once shared. But just as often, I felt the distance between us. Andrea worked tirelessly to rebuild our marriage, but my trust remained fractured. One day, I came home early, feeling optimistic about our progress. As I walked upstairs, I heard Andrea laughing, a warm, familiar sound, but she wasn't alone. A man's voice followed. Ice shot through me. I opened the door to our bedroom and found Andrea sitting on the bed with another man. They both froze when they saw me. Andrea stammered, explaining he was a colleague she had run into and invited over to discuss work. But the laughter I had heard, the ease between them, told a different story. My blood boiled. "Do you really expect me to believe that?" I spat before storming out. Her betrayal replayed in my mind, her pleas for forgiveness now seeming empty. The trust we'd been rebuilding crumbled in an instant. The next day, I contacted a divorce lawyer. It wasn't just about that moment, it was about everything. The affair, the lies, the lingering doubts, it all pointed to one truth. Andrea and I were broken beyond repair. Moving out was painful, but I knew it was the right choice. I took Logan with me, determined to shield him from the worst of our split. Andrea didn't fight me. Maybe she understood that we'd reached the end. We agreed to joint custody, splitting time with Logan as amicably as we could. But the ache of separation was undeniable. I missed the family we had been, the mornings we spent laughing over breakfast, the dreams we once shared. The adjustment was brutal. Nights alone in my new apartment were hollow. I filled the silence with work, gym sessions, and trying to be the best dad I could for Logan. But part of me still clung to the hope that I might find love again. Months passed, and I started to find a rhythm in my new life. Logan and I settled into our routine, splitting time between my apartment and Andrea's house. He was resilient, adapting to the changes better than I expected, though I knew he missed having both his parents together. At first, the thought of dating felt impossible. My trust in relationships had been shattered. But loneliness crept in, and eventually, I decided to give it a try. Swiping through dating apps was surreal. I hadn't dated since my 20s, and the whole process felt unnatural. After a series of unremarkable dates, I was ready to give up. Then I met Danielle. From the first conversation, something about her was different. She was smart, funny, and down-to-earth. Our first date stretched into the early hours as we talked about everything: work, family, even my divorce. Danielle was empathetic but didn't pity me. She made me laugh in a way I hadn't in years. We started seeing each other regularly. With Danielle, things felt easy and natural. She wasn't just great with me, she was incredible with Logan too. She would sit on the floor building Lego towers with him, read his favorite books, and listen to his endless chatter with genuine interest. Seeing Logan light up around her gave me hope for a new kind of family. As Danielle and I grew closer, I began to feel something I hadn't felt in years: peace. She didn't push me to move faster than I was ready, but her steady presence made me believe in love again. 6 months in, I took Danielle on a weekend trip to a cabin in the woods. It was quiet and romantic, the perfect setting to show her how much she meant to me. Over a homemade dinner, I finally said the words I'd been holding back: "I love you." Her eyes filled with tears as she said them back. By the end of the weekend, I knew she was the one. On our final night, I got down on one knee and asked her to marry me. When she said yes, joy and relief flooded through me. For the first time since my marriage ended, I felt like I had a future to look forward to. Planning the wedding was exciting but bittersweet. Andrea and I had come a long way as co-parents, and I knew the news would stir complicated emotions. When I told her about the engagement, she gave a small, sad smile. "I'm happy for you, Matt. Truly," she said. Her sincerity caught me off guard. The wedding day arrived on a crisp spring morning. The outdoor venue was stunning, with flowers blooming everywhere. Logan walked down the aisle as the ring bearer, looking so proud of his role. I stood at the altar, my heart pounding as I waited for Danielle. When she appeared, arm in arm with her father, I felt like the luckiest man alive. Her lace gown flowed elegantly, her smile radiant. As she approached, tears welled up in my eyes. This was my second chance, my fresh start. The ceremony passed in a blur of emotion. When I kissed Danielle as my wife, the The cheers of our friends and family felt like a celebration of everything we'd overcome. The reception was pure joy. Logan danced with Danielle, her laughter blending with his giggles. Watching them together, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. Our pasts had been messy, but they had led us here, to this moment of happiness. That night, under the stars, Danielle and I slow danced in silence. "Welcome home, Mrs. Stevens," I whispered. She smiled up at me, her eyes sparkling with love. For the first time in years, I felt whole. Life wasn't perfect, but it was ours to build. Danielle's faithfulness and kindness had restored my hope. Together, we were ready to create a new chapter, one filled with love, trust, and a future worth fighting for. In the months after our wedding, life settled into a happy, steady rhythm. Danielle moved into my home, bringing a warmth that had been missing for years. Logan adored her, and seeing them together made my heart swell. For the first time since my marriage with Andrea ended, our house felt like a home again. Parenting wasn't easy, juggling schedules with Andrea, dealing with Logan's boundless energy, and navigating life's curveballs, but Danielle and I faced it all together. Her patience and unwavering support reminded me every day that I had chosen the right person to share my life with. Andrea remained a part of our lives through co-parenting, and I appreciated how hard she worked to maintain a positive relationship for Logan's sake. Though our marriage couldn't survive, we found a way to work as a team for our son. Seeing her at drop-offs and school events no longer stirred old wounds. Instead, I felt a quiet gratitude for the family we had built, even if it didn't turn out the way we had imagined. Logan thrived in the new normal. He bounced between our two homes with ease, his laughter filling both spaces. Danielle often said he was her greatest gift, and I couldn't agree more. Watching them together gave me hope that this blended family could flourish. As time passed, I let go of the pain that had once consumed me. Andrea's betrayal had been a defining moment in my life, but it didn't define me. I realized that holding on to resentment would only hurt me and the people I loved. Danielle and I continued to grow as partners, building a life rooted in trust and love. We celebrated the small moments, family dinners, game nights, lazy Sundays on the couch. They became the foundation of a life that felt real and unshakable. Looking back, the journey hadn't been easy. My heart had been broken, and my trust shattered. But through it all, I had found a strength I didn't know I had. And in the end, that strength led me to Danielle, to a love that was faithful, steady, and true. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that life doesn't always go as planned. Sometimes, it takes losing everything to find what truly matters. For me, that was Logan, Danielle, and the hope of a future built on honesty and love. No matter what challenges lie ahead, I know we'll face them together. Because this time, I'm not just dreaming about happiness, I'm living it. If you enjoyed this story, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel for more inspiring tales about resilience, love, and new beginnings. Let's build a community that reminds each other that hope is never lost.